Hey, how's it going? You know what I want to do today? Finally unbox some anime figures. I just haven't really been feeling productive lately. Not a lot of content has been made on this channel, and the apartment's still not ready yet, surrounded by boxes over there, and behind the camera are some unbuilt bookshelves because Ikea has screwed me over, just won't give me the replacement parts I need. Very stressed about that, but I don't want to dwell on any negativity in this video, so I don't know if I'll even talk about that situation today. But what I do know is that I have like 7 figures or so just waiting to be unboxed, and I really want to get to it, so that's what we're gonna do today. And I figure we can start with an easy one. This is the fluted armor set from Demon's Souls and SP Pop-Up Parade. The SP stands for special price. This guy costs a little bit more money at 12,000 yen instead of like 8,800, or was it 8,000? Will it be justified? I don't know, but I'm a sucker for From Software figures, so I had to pick them up. Alright, let's see what this guy is all about. Base is massive, don't like that, especially when it's the most boring parts of the figure. Also comes with his sword, of course, though it's separated into 2 pieces, and it's just the bottom for some reason they put into its own blister spot. I mean, I understand the separation, but why package this in its own little baggie? You could barely see this. You know, I gotta say, this does feel like a bit of a step up from the typical Pop-Up Parade large figure. Even like the Guts one that everybody loves, I love it as well. But it just feels like there's a little bit more going on here. The like intricate armor design, the chainmail, there's a couple more colors here. Some attempt at some like texturing and just different, you know, takes on like fabric, right? Just to make each piece feel a little bit different from the last. Now, this looks eerily similar to the Figma, even like the way the shield is scratched up. I think it's the exact same. I don't own that Figma, but from what I remember in the promotional photos, it does seem pretty dang close, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just like copied what they did and then made a big scale figure of that sculpt, which is fine by me. This is more of my preference because I've been collecting pretty big, you know, From Software figures, but I think he looks really good. Now, I wish this was the original fluted armor design, the one that's on my shirt. I did wear this for a reason. The one from the PS3 version, it's a bit more distinct, a bit more unique. I really like that duck bill that he has. This feels a little bit more, I don't know, generic to me, but it's still part of the From Software lineage, and I love Demon's Souls, so I'm happy to buy this. I just kind of wish they went with the old school design. I'm calling a PS3 game old school, but I guess we are at that point. Makes me sad. Yeah, really the only negative I have with this guy would be the base. It's a very large oval. It's very boring, as you would imagine. If they just, you know, made some like stone walkway or something to even give like a hint of Boletaria or some other area in Demon's Souls, that would have went a long way. In fact, I feel like I should actually get into customization with like bases and just do that myself. I can't imagine it's that hard because I'm not looking for that much, but this is just so whatever. It's so bleh. But the rest of the figure is actually quite nice. I'm actually a bit more impressed with this than I thought I would be. He's got a nice luster to him thanks to all the silver paint, and I just like how dinged up this armor is. I don't even mind that the pose is pretty static, as a lot of the From Software figures I own from get-go are like this, so he's gonna fit in just fine despite being a little bit smaller, but it's still a pretty good size for the price, which was about like $90, $80, something like that, at least at the time of purchasing this figure. So yeah, I'm impressed. Good job. And you know, because we're talking about From Software, let's do this one next. Here we have the Alexander Nendo from Elden Ring. This is the only Elden Ring Nendo that I'm probably gonna buy. I just couldn't resist when they made the best character into a Nendo. Also probably the most fitting, even though I would love a giant figure of this guy. That would be awesome. I like that they gave him a really dark box too. It's super slick, and I guess it is fitting for Elden Ring. It's like the title screen, but yeah, here we go. Let's take him out. All right, there you go. Get the plastic off of him. Like, that's pretty chunky for a Nendo, right? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna swap out the arms because I feel like I might as well get him in the pose that I'm just always going to leave him in, which is having his arms crossed. Super iconic look. So we just plug it in like so. And then you kind of connect them in the middle. Pretty simple stuff. All right, there you go. That should be good. Now, Alexander doesn't really come with that much. His biggest accessory is actually like one of the jar kids from the village whose name I am unfortunately not remembering right now. I'll look that up later. But yeah, like really it's just some extra hands, the other set of arms, which is fine. And I think because he's just such a bulky guy and a lanky one too, these arms and legs are very long. I think that does kind of justify the price enough. He's just like covered in rocks and the detail on this guy is a little bit higher. I just said this about the pop-up parade, but it's true, it's a little bit higher than your typical Nendoroid just because of the design of him. He's a goddamn pot. A very decorative one too. Looks pretty fancy. You even have that crest on his lid. Looks super nice. Just really like the sculpting work on this Nendo. Now obviously, he's not going to come with any faceplates. I think that's fine. He doesn't emote. He is a pot. I do wish you could take off the lid, maybe see what's on the inside. If the DLC is anything to go by, maybe you wouldn't want to see that, but I don't think he is the exact same as those monstrosities in the DLC. But yeah, one other thing you could have gotten with this Nendo if you pre-ordered him at the Good Small Company store was a stick of meat. I don't even know if he can hold it. I actually don't know where that is in my room. I'll find it for the B-roll, but it's just like a power-up in the game, if I remember correctly, to like give you an attack boost. Probably makes more sense with like the other characters that are in Nendo form from Elden Ring, but they just wanted to give him something, I guess. But I do think if you like Elden Ring and you want an official figure of Alexander, you can't really go wrong here. Nothing is really compromised. Maybe his limbs are a little shorter, I guess. But even as far as like paint apps are concerned for Nendoroids, this guy is definitely a cut above his peers. Some really nice shading like on the bottom of the jar, around his arms where like it's dripping a little bit. Not sure what that's about actually. And again, on the top of the lid, looks really nice up there. So the paint is excellent, the sculpt is perfect. He just doesn't really come with a lot. And that's probably fine, that's not really what you need for an Alexander Nendo, but yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. Alright, so here's one that I don't think a lot of people bought. There wasn't a lot of hype about this one. In fact, there was a lot of complaints about it being pretty boring, but here we have a Bocchi the Rock figure of Hitori from Good Smile Company. Now, I'm definitely not going to make the claim that this is going to be her best figure. But from the photos I saw, I thought she looked rather nice. I do think the Aniplex one is a little bit more of a spectacle for sure, but I did decide to keep my pre-order because I wanted to check this one out for myself. Kind of surprised they went with a clear base with literally nothing on it. That's kind of disappointing. Though maybe some people like this, you know? Usually you only see a base like this in the promo photos, but this is literally what they always show you. I'm just kind of surprised there's not like a title or anything or some color on this base. You know, she's actually surprisingly heavy. This feels very well made, despite her retail price of like, man, what was it, 13,000 yen? Up to 15,000, something like that. I know this was very inexpensive. I mean, yeah, she's certainly very simplistic. She's just standing there looking a little meek, very shy, just kind of reserved, right? She doesn't want to be really noticed. That's kind of the, you know, Hitori that we know. There's no exaggerated expression or emotion. She's not freaking out here like you often see her in figure form. It's a very quiet and calm figure. And I do like that. I do like this approach. Will this figure of Hitori really win any awards though? I don't think so, but at the same time, I really like how it's painted, the vibrancy of her hair, and how they're differentiating the shades of pink from the tracksuit, right? Her eyes, like the decals, have 3 different shades of blue. They really stand out, especially in contrast with her pink hair. The way they handled her clothing was also pretty dang well done, like the bunched up sleeves and the pleating of the skirt. The leather shoes look excellent, and you can't forget about the little blue and yellow hair clip cubes. They're like slightly translucent, maybe like 80% opacity or so. Now besides that, she's also clutching onto her bag, and she's got her guitar on her back, and you know, it's probably going to sound a little bit silly when I say that this very simplistic black leather bag is the most impressive part on this figure, but I do think that's true. The very subtle creasing on each side of the bag, the meticulous sculpting of the zippers and the straps, like that mesh looking material on the bottom, it's pretty impressive, especially for the price point of this figure. So yeah, she's very simple, but there's some really nice colors here and some nice little details here and there to make you appreciate this sculpt. If you're a fan of her, you definitely would not be upset. You would like this figure, but it's not that exciting. I know why a lot of people don't really care about this figure, but I think they did a good job. And I guess because everything's in pairs today, we are going to also be taking a look at the Hitori attention-seeking monster Nendoroid. I really did not need to pick this up. I should not have picked this up, in fact, but I could not resist. I think this is way too cute, so I had to check it out. I guess this is also one of the last times that I'm going to be seeing a Nendoroid with a blister, which is a little weird, but we'll get used to it. Maybe. Yeah, this is just too cute. How could you not like this? How could you not want this? Now, I am guilty of selling her other Nendoroid because I needed to make space, and here I go buying another figure of her. In fact, I don't even know why I buy so many Hitori figures. Definitely really like the show, but I don't need this many. But they're just so compelling for some reason. Maybe that's not the right word because they're all just a bunch of cutesy, goofy figures, but I just find the expressiveness and the creativity in figure form so charming that I just keep coming back for more. I do think I will keep this one unless I'm really, like, strapped for space. I mean, it is just a tiny Nendo, but I also do have about 40 Nendos or so, and that does add up. Now, this is just a secondary Hitori Nendoroid, so she doesn't really come with that much in terms of accessories. You do get a Tsuchinoko snake. I love that they just included that with this package, because they really didn't need to, but I love that stupid snake, so I'm very happy that it's here. You get like a flame effect piece, which you could just have her breathing fire, which is very fun, and then some extra limbs to have her like stomping around. But the cutest setup is just having her sitting down with like that deadpan face that she comes with. That's probably what I'm going to do when I set this up later on. Like, yeah, I'm missing out on the other faceplates that I had, but these two are so perfect for this Nendo that I don't really mind. But yeah, the design of this monster costume, maybe it's just because she's also like a Nendoroid, but this setup makes it feel more like pajamas to me. I don't know if that's supposed to be the point, but it is extremely adorable, and I really like the colors. There's not that much to it. It's just this one lime green with the pink and a little bit of yellow accents, but it's great. This one's great. I really like this one. Alright, so that's our last Nendo for the video, but we move on with some premium stuff. Here is Rice Shower from Uma Musume. Now, this was the only one in this video that I did not pre-order. She was on my wish list. I just wasn't sure if I was actually going to bite the bullet, but as you can see, the bullet has been bitten. So yeah, this one is made by Alter. They have made a few Uma Musume figures, but I don't know if many are out yet. For some reason, they put the bonus expression or secondary expression underneath the base. Like, this is so weird and excessive. Like, why did this have to be molded this way? But whatever. We do have this podium style base, very light. I do like the color of it. I do feel like it's slightly tacky having the name tag there. However, I think that is how it's kind of presented in the game, but what do I know? I haven't played it yet. I'm actually pretty surprised that her dagger is a separate piece that you have to put into the holster yourself. I just wouldn't have expected them to make you do that. Doubt you'll lose it. It feels pretty snug in there, but just odd. Why would you display her without the dagger? Maybe it was just easier to sculpt this way. Rice Shower is definitely one of my favorite designs I've seen in Uma Musume, but I gotta say, Alter did an exceptional job here. Now, the first thing that really stood out to me, and one of the reasons I really wanted to pick this up, was actually her, like, sad, kind of shy expression. It looked cute, wasn't sure if I wanted the happy expression instead, but the way they sculpted her lips, and I'm gonna try to get a good shot of this, despite how tiny her mouth is, they just look so soft and even delicate. And that's like kind of the theming of this figure. There's like a daintiness to her entire design and demeanor, her expressions. She's such a shy, cute character, but yeah, those lips are crazy good. Like, the sculpting is a 10 out of 10 for the face. Gotta say, really love how her hair is styled too, like the curls at the tips and how her bangs are covering one of her eyes. Don't you just love how swoopy her hair is? It's just so appealing to look at. I was kind of surprised that they did use translucent plastic for the tips of her hair, but it's so nicely done here that it's actually making the hair sculpt better. I wouldn't even say there's that much like paint gradation in her hair, but the way the brown plastic is kind of turning a little bit lighter at the tips looks very pretty. They did a great job with her hair. It's nice how this figure avoids looking flat at all, despite like all the black ribbons around her waist and her heels, the trim of the dress and the frills around her arms. Like, you would just expect that to look a little bit flatter than it does, but Alter just managed to dodge this issue completely. The darker blues and pinks have a very rich appearance. Special shoutouts to her thigh highs, which look wonderful. The shading is absolutely on point there. And I like the little finishes that they've added to this figure, like her heels are very glossy, the flower on her hat next to the doily has a blue metallic paint, and the flower on her chest is actually translucent, which I did not realize until making this video. Also, she's got horseshoes under her heels. That's adorable. That's a super charming, just like, design point for a costume. So, immaculately done. Definitely not like a run out and buy this type of figure, but if you are a fan, you definitely will not be disappointed. But yeah, let's continue with something else. I don't know yet. Alright, I figured it out. Here is, next up, the Taiga Aisaka Shiramuku version from Kadokawa. Yeah, I've been holding on to this one for quite some time and it was killing me, because I needed to see how this one turned out. Not too many reviews on this figure, but yeah, I got it from Good Small Company directly, which was nice. Though I did not get the tapestry, which was a little annoying, so if you're selling that, hook me up, I'll buy it from you. Something I did know before going into all of this is that they never disclosed that there is an additional support stand for Taiga. I don't know where I put this. I'm guessing it's like behind her, just for the, you know, dress itself, but I don't really get how this works. Yeah, there's just like one crummy photo where you stick the pole behind her, not even like on the base, just behind it. I don't know, this seems like a very last minute decision. I guess before we do that though, I should put the wooden sword in her hand. Okay, there you go. Now, while I do think this is a pretty popular release as far as like a Taiga figure is concerned, certainly not reaching the heights of the bunny, I know there were some people a little reserved on this one, just not really so sure because of the makeup that she's wearing, primarily with her lips, right? Now, if you've seen the anime, she does wear makeup during the Christmas arc. I won't say it looks exactly like that. It doesn't really hit that like anime art style as much as I would like it to, but I do like that they're changing things up here. I do like that she's a little more dolled up in this one specific instance because this is a wedding style figure. I think her face looks pretty good. I like the lipstick. However, the shape of her mouth and like maybe the position of her eyes, something does feel a little off. Maybe it's kind of scrunched up a little bit too much, but it doesn't really hit the nail on the head for me, but it gets close enough where I'm not really that bothered by it. But certainly I don't think this is a perfect face sculpt. Now, where I think this figure really shines is in the Shiramuku, the dress itself. There's just so much flavor to this figure, just kind of making it really feel like a Toradora inspired Shiramuku. Even having her kimono with like stripes on it, they're sculpted on. A little hard to see if you don't like look up close, but I just love the tiger stripes. They didn't need to do that, but they did it anyway. They even gave her a tail, which again, they didn't have to do, but she also does have tiger ears up top, if you haven't noticed. Certainly not going to complain about the floral touches on this figure either, like the ribbon in her hair has some flowers on it, her hair braid has a flower too. It's very pretty to me. I like that she's got a bandage on her knee just because she's a bit rambunctious, always getting into fights and scuffs and stuff like that. She's not super proper. Gave her her wooden sword because why not? That's something she always carries around with her. And I really like around her sash, there's this little charm with 5 colors on it, and those colors are from the logo for Toradora, like in the exact same order too. That's just so fun. The people who sculpted this actually cared enough to get like that kind of detailing down. This Taiga figure has such a unique blend of colors too, not the palette I was expecting at all when I first saw the prototype, but I think they cooked. I'm really digging what they came up with here. It's like a little loud for a wedding style figure, but at the same time it still feels under control just because of that like sea of white plastic for the Shiramuku. Also, it's been a minute since we've had such a happy interpretation of Taiga. We don't get this like cheery side of her enough in figure form, to the point where people often forget that she even acts this way sometimes. But like, I think that's a shame. I think more figures should look like this. She doesn't always need a scowl. She doesn't always have to be embarrassed or angry. This is another side of her that I personally love seeing. It's just really endearing. Something that did throw me off though when I originally saw this figure go up for pre-order is that they gave her like some lavender gradients in her hair, like on the tips towards the back of the figure. And I thought that was weird at first. They're definitely trying to like capture the art style from the original illustration that this figure is based on. But looking at these colors in person, it doesn't really stand out that much. It kind of blends in pretty naturally somehow, despite it being purple, like a lavender. It's a light purple for sure. So I kind of like it. Something I was worried about ended up being fine. You know, I gotta hand it to them. This little Tonori Tiger figure that you get with this figure, assuming that you pre-ordered it from like one of the few stores that offered it, is easily the best minifigure of this tiger that I've seen to date. The colors are so vibrant and the stylization is perfect here. I love this little minifigure of the Tonori Tiger. It's like perfect for whatever reason. Just a shame you had to go out of your way to get it. And I haven't even talked about the hood that you could put on this figure, because I'm not doing that right now. I'll do it later. But I know she looks very cute while she's wearing it, just because it's like so oversized as it typically is, but just because she's also a pretty short character, that's gonna make her look even cuter in my opinion. If I were to rank Taiga figures, and I probably will do that someday, I'd at least put her in the upper half. I feel like this figure definitely deserves that. There's a lot of really nice stuff about this figure, but I think we're about to move on to our final figure. All right, here it is. Been waiting a long time for this one. The new Aigis figure from Ikea. Brand new company. I did have to open this one up because when I got her, her head was just floating around in there. It came off. Not sure if it was broken, so I had to check it out. And I don't think it was broken. I think it can just come off if you want it to, for whatever reason. But yeah, that did give me a little bit of a heart attack. Did not like seeing that. So something that you might find surprising is that she is so light, especially for a 1/6 scale. Like, you would not even imagine how light this figure is, which I guess is okay. It makes it feel a little flimsy, but there was a problem with this figure when they first showed her off, where she was wobbling all over the place. And I do want to check that out right now, so give me a second to clear this up. Okay, so from what I can tell, not really wobbling, so they definitely fixed that problem, which I was super concerned about. Unfortunately, there is a new problem with this figure, and some people have taken note of it, some people have complained about it. I don't think it's enough to get like a recall on this figure or anything, but for some reason, her hair is 2 different shades of yellow. And it's not like a shading thing, it's not gradating into the next color, it's just like one type of yellow, another type of yellow, and they're kind of separated by her headband. However, it doesn't ruin the figure, but I do find it very disappointing considering that this figure looked so goddamn good when it went up for pre-order. If you could ignore that though, this figure is beautiful. Like, everything else about this figure is top notch. It's really, really nice. Like the mechanical detail that they're clearly trying to show off, having the panels opened around the chest, around her back, around her legs. It's just like immaculate. It looks so goddamn good. The inner workings of Aigis have never looked better. And even the way her plating is painted, I actually don't know what you would call like her skin in quotes, right? Kind of looks like cloth in some areas where it's creasing around like the butt and the legs, right? Like if there was anywhere these guys could get lazy on this figure, I would have assumed it would be this off-white portion of Aigis. There's so much of it, but there's like this nice shading applied all throughout her body. It's crazy how good this figure looks in terms of the paint apps. Certainly all that gold and silver paint goes a long way as well, but there's also some like clear bits on the inside of Aigis as well, and I truly think her face is absolutely gorgeous. This has to be one of the best faces on an Aigis figure to date. I'm kinda blown away by everything about this outside of her hair. Now, the sculpting of her hair how like it's flowing all over the place. It's so dynamic despite how she's kind of just standing there is very impressive. I do think her hair sculpt is phenomenal. And conceptually, this figure is so goddamn cool too. Essentially what's going on is that she's removing her limiters until I believe she overheats. She's opening the vents, she's opening the panels, getting as much like power out of her like system as possible. And just the way they're showing that off here is awesome. Now, this does have a light up feature at the chest. And I did buy the battery. I haven't tried it out yet, but I figure why don't we try that together? So from what I've read, you essentially need a CR927 3V lithium battery. One of the few instances where a battery for an anime figure is very easily available in America, so I appreciate that. This cost me like $4 or something. And what I think I have to do is take this piece that the figure comes with and like pry open a section on her back and then slot this one in. Yeah, this is definitely a little finicky, but I got it. Maybe I should have taken this off of the base, but we're here now, so we're gonna keep trying. Like, my hands are small, but this is so finicky because the battery keeps getting stuck to the magnets on the inside. Alright, I don't want to admit how long that took me. I'm a little embarrassed. I had to turn off the camera because it was just taking way too long, but we did it, okay? We did it. And all you gotta do to activate the light up feature is use the stick that came with the figure that you actually use to pry open the back, but there's like a magnet on one of the sides of it, and then you touch the chest and there you go. I think there's like two modes to it, one where it flashes and one where it kind of just stays on continuously. I don't know how this fully works yet, but I guess if I figure it out in the B-roll, you'll be the first to know. So all in all, a pretty special feeling package. I like that she's super big. This is a 1/6 scale. I like the light up feature. I love the paint apps. I love the sculpting of the mechanical detail. Haven't even mentioned the base. It's basically like a destroyed city environment. You got the girder sticking out of it, which does add a little bit of depth to the base. Doesn't really have a huge circumference or anything, but I guess you gotta be a little bit mindful. Yeah, really, really well constructed. Just wish her hair looked a little bit better. I am being extremely nitpicky though. It's not like it looks terrible, but this was a 30,000 yen figure and like CD Japan made me pay like 10,000 to ship it EMS, so it wasn't cheap. I wish this was perfect considering that price point, but it gets pretty damn close. And out of all the Aegis figures I've seen so far, this one's certainly my favorite. A lovely figure and probably the most impressive one in this video. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to support the channel, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I do have a Patreon if you want to go a little bit above all of that. Don't have to, but it keeps the channel thriving and it certainly helps for those very long videos that I make. That'll do it though. See you next time and have a good one. Peace. You know, I was thinking about talking about all that Ikea stuff in this outro, but I'd rather save it for another time, maybe even on a different channel. Ooh, interesting. But for now, just want to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters, with special shoutouts going out to Japanese Salesman, Sasami Adachi, Swoop, Nemiya Dynaskull, Christy Eisenman, Aki Rusu, DT Perigi, Kaif Marie, and Magnitude. Maybe by the next time we do this outro, I'll actually have some bookshelves and we could finally start, like, decorating the room a little bit, but who knows? Either way, got a lot of stuff cooking in the future. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to it, and I plan to do more exclusive content, early access stuff, and maybe even some extended cuts over on the Patreon. Still thinking about, like, everything I want to offer over there, but yeah, that's about it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon for the next one. Later.